What's going on, Illumineers? John here again for our third episode of the Freedom Gaming Podcast. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. We're joined by just about the whole team tonight, only missing Michael, unfortunately. But we got Joey back after a one-episode absence. So, Joey, how we doing tonight? Glad to have you back.
Doing good. Glad to record again tonight, and look forward to keeping this going.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, glad to have you back. We definitely missed you in last episode. Next up, we got Mike to my bottom left. Mike, how we doing tonight?
Feeling good. Feeling good. Yeah, it's always good to get together with you guys.
Yep, definitely living the dream for sure. And then last but certainly not least, we got right underneath me we got Brian. Brian, how we doing?
Doing well, man. Was able to fly in safely from Florida yesterday and back in North Carolina. So glad we are doing the podcast already.
Yeah, definitely. Glad you were able to make it back in time without I'm sure a lot of people trying to evacuate, mainly on the West Coast, but definitely I'm sure down in Miami for a lot of the area. Anyone in South Florida, definitely be safe. Hope you guys are hunkered down and preparing. And if you evacuate, hope you guys evacuate safely. As someone who lived in South Florida the majority of my life, I definitely understand the hurricane safety and everything. So again, above all else, I hope everyone is being safe and being smart down there. So how we hop into some Lorcana? That seems that's the reason why we are all here. So a couple of big things going on this past week. Main big thing for the Lorcana community was obviously the start of set championships, which started on this past Saturday. I was lucky enough to attend one on Saturday. It was at Highlander Games in Boonton, not North Carolina, New Jersey. A store that I've played at multiple times. Yeah, maybe I just went all the way down to New Jersey or North Carolina. Um, so a store that I've played at a lot, a store that I love to go into. I know the owner; he's super cool. We had 14 people, and I brought my tried and true Emerald Steel deck. Surprise, surprise! There, I've only played it since set two. I went 3-1. My only loss being in the mirror. It was literally a 58 card mirror. The couple differences were I played one Ana and one Lucifer. He played two Ana, and then he played three Hypnotize, one Smash, and I played the four Hypnotize. So it was basically an exact mirror. And I unfortunately bubbled at fifth, so I didn't make top cut, but I still came away with a cool little promo. It's a useless card, but looks pretty cool, I guess. Um, so that was set championships. I was only able to play in one, and I think I'll be able to play in another one this Sunday. I'm not sure if it's going to work out or not, but we'll see what happens. Probably going to play Emerald Steel again, though. But the other big event, which was definitely big for our team, was the Miami TCG Con, which I don't know if some of you guys remember this from last year. It was the first major event for Lorcana. It was over 200 people or something, right, guys?
Yep.
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 Yeah, Joey, Mikey, and Michael all played in it. Me and Brian unfortunately weren't able to at that point. I know it was a very big event. And they had a day two and everything. It was a great thing. Like they brought in a bunch of artists, and they did the same again this year. I think there were 23, 25 artists this year. You guys could correct me on that.
25.
Yeah,
Yeah,
25.
about that.
25, and they did have another Lorcana tournament, which was a 64 player cap, which they didn't hit, but it was capped a little bit lower. But the winner got a mat, which was signed and drawn on by all the artists, which so it's a super cool prize. And like I said, this was a big event for us as we had four of our five were on there. I was the only one that wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. So hopefully I can make it next year. Fingers crossed they have a third edition. But it was a very successful event for us as Brian, Mike, and Joey all made top eight. Michael, unfortunately, he went and he had fun. So, uh, Mikey, if you want to go talk about your dad's place, or you're gonna go be his stand-in today and talk about his deck
Yeah.
and his performance, that'd be great.
Yep. So I know he finished X2. Um, he really wanted to make a locations deck. He's been trying to work on that for quite a
Hmm.
while now. I think he was inspired by the top 64 list in Vegas that had red steel.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of
Mm.
capitalized on the Gustav with the three drop 6/6. So you could go Flynn into Gustav, and me and him were kind of brainstorming, and he wanted to try the Treasure Guardian, which is the four cost 6/6 two quester that can't do anything unless it's at a location, but it still triggers Flynn. So
Hmm.
that was the whole baseline of what started the conversation, and my whole thing was I think Purple has two of the best locations in the game with Library and
Oh yeah,
Castle.
100%.
So and you get all the card draw. So I just think Purple kind of leans more into that,
Mhm.
more of a mid-range deck. So we talked about it. I don't know his exact matchups. I know he played Joey in round 3. I know he played red blue early on, but I don't know the other matchups. But the round 3, ultimately, it was either him or Joey, and then from then on, I think they could draw in whoever won that game.
Gotcha.
I think it went 3 games, right? When you played him, Joey. Yeah.
He beat me up pretty good game 1, and then I beat him up pretty good game 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's I mean, it capitalizes on that Flynn Sisu Castle line. But then you have Hawkins RLS Legacy for later game stuff as well, and then some of the Merlin package in it. I'm sure you're gonna throw the deck list up there, but yeah, it's a cool deck. It's a cool deck. I think there's still more room to grow.
Yeah, definitely. And he has a lot of fun cards in there, like cards you don't see a lot, like Magic Carpet, which is something that I talked about a lot with like the 2/1 evasive to just move anything for free, because again, like yes, it dies to a lot of stuff, but they're also like you're not going to see too many evasive, like if you're not playing against, or like I said, like evasive rushers, unless you're playing against Amethyst, which is good. He has the early card draw, so like it looks like he's just playing like standard RP and then you start getting to like, wait, Magic Carpet, what, Tuck? Yeah, you start seeing all these crazy cards, or like I know if someone inked a Forbidden Mount against me, I would have no clue what to do. So yeah, I know he was talking about adding more.
I told him he needed. I know one tweak. Yeah, one tweak I know that he was talking about after was the Shadow Finder. Because he's playing so many rush character or evasive characters already, so to give them rush would help against green and other stuff like that. Where there's evasives that he needs to do something about.
Also, being able to put something into RLS Legacy to give it evasive / rush.
Yeah, definitely. You could do some.
So I know that's going to be added.
Yeah, there could be some like cool plays where you have like Shadow Finder out, and then you move like Treasure Guardian to like RLS Legacy or something, with whether it's like Carpet or Tuck or something, and then you're like a 6/6 evasive rusher. Like that sounds scary.
Or even playing Jim Hawkins with RLS Legacy and then just rush him out.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's definitely some very cool lines, and it's definitely more of an aggro-y tempo-y list as opposed to just your standard Ruby Amethyst, with your wraths on like the higher top end. So like he's definitely trying to like rush you guys down. So it's definitely a very cool deck list. If anyone has any questions, obviously about it, feel free to let us know in the comments section. But again, great performance by Michael. First time playing it. Went I think 3-2. I think he ended up 16th. So like technically everyone made top 16. So.
And his packs were fire. His packs that he got were fire.
Oh yeah,
so he got what, 5 legendaries or something like that.
Jesus.
4 packs, 3 legendaries.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Sometimes you just run. Sometimes you run hot at the wrong times, right? So we'll go to Brian next. Brian, I know you got top 8. So again, congratulations on yet another solid performance. Being the resident Ruby Sapphire player, how did your day go? How did you feel about the deck?
As you know, I posted a video last week kind of with a quick deck breakdown. The only changes I made going into day 1 of Miami TCG Con was cutting 1 Maui and adding a Cusco because I expected a decent amount of the mirror. Round 1 was exactly that. Ruby Sapphire mirror. Unfortunately, I did lose to one of our friends that we know down there. But after that, the deck performed quite flawlessly. I 2-0'd all the way into round 5. I did need to win an in order to make it into day 2. Oof. And we got there. No issues. Yep.
Did its job, right?
No pressure there. But going into day 2, played another friend we know who is also a Ruby Sapphire player in top 8. And again, just had a few hiccups along the way, and we were 1-1 going to game 3, and unfortunately just didn't get there. So that's kind of where my journey ended. Ruby Sapphire has performed. It's extremely consistent in my eyes. I do still have an issue with the uninkable count, but again, the deck has ways to mitigate that between Tipo and Fishbone Quill. So overall, though, not upset with it. Out of the packs that I ended up winning, I pulled in Enchanted You're Welcome. So,
nice.
Can't be too mad about it. The biggest thing, though, out of the top 8, to have 3 of us, representing the team, that was really awesome. and we got to kind of go head to head with another team local to South Florida, the Illuminatis.
Yep.
And they also had 3 members representing. And at the end of the day, though, I want to say we came out on top for the guys watching. If you guys ever want to run it back, let us know.
5 against 45, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah, but just looking at your list, like a very, very standard, very consistent list. Obviously, the addition of the Cusco was something that you said you just were expecting for the mirror, which again, it just ends up being, and helps a lot of your other matchups too, like helps the Emerald Steel matchup a little better as you can get rid of their coves if there's nothing you can do about it. And then helps against Amber Steel as well if you do happen to see it. Could see potentially like based on like the flutes or the lanterns if people are still playing that. One question I have though is just like how did the Wraths feel? Like you were on 6 obviously between the 3 Sisu and the 3 B preps. Like did that feel like a good number? Like did you feel like you wanted another Sisu? You wanted less B prepared? I know just a lot of people have been kind of messing around with those numbers. I think in my list
I think just like I know somebody way smarter than me. Prior to Vegas, people were kind of crunching the numbers on how many Wraths, how many 2 cost ramp cards, and I think everybody kind of settled on that 6 being the correct number. I haven't had a game where I was like, oh man, I wish I had another Sisu, or I wish I had another Be Prepared. So no problem there. The only time that I had a slight hiccup with some of the cards, and again, variance with any TCG was game 3 of top 8. I unfortunately had to ink 2 of my Maleficent Dragons within the first 3 or 4 turns, and I only run 3 of them. So that did kind of bite me later on in that game. However, it was kind of making the choice between continuing to ramp or trying to hold those and find something later on. And again, in the mirror, I felt like I didn't want to fall behind on ink count. So I made that was a decision I made. It didn't like cost me. I don't want to say that it cost me the game right off the bat. You know, you still have your Wraths and your Medusas and the ice blocks, so you can kind of ice block their bigger threats and get around. There's a decent amount of workarounds still without the Maleficent Dragon, but it did make it a little bit harder, and unfortunately that's kind of where my journey ended, as I mentioned.
Still a great performance though. I mean, again, like you're still pretty new to playing like Ruby Sapphire, but you've still put up a bunch of great results. Obviously, like the TCG Con, playing it in Vegas as well, and then getting another top 8 here. So once again, good job there. Next up, Joey, who was our old Ruby Sapphire expert, but now he's a new color combo. So. Joey, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your Emerald Sapphire deck that took Miami by storm a little bit before Milton comes in.
Yeah, I had a new pet deck. Came with it up on the fly on about Tuesday of this past week. Looked back at a opponent that I played in a case tournament earlier in the month, playing the same color combination. I was struggling with it against red blue. Didn't really look at the list, didn't ask him too many questions, but kind of like looked at what his core was doing. He was playing Clarabelles, Mufasas, Ramp Package, Hirams, Tamatoas, kind of all that stuff.
Yep.
And so right around Tuesday, I started looking at it. I'm just like trying to find a fun deck, something new. And I started throwing together these cards. I ended up at like 67, 75 cards, somewhere in there. Just putting together all the good green cards with all the good blue cards. Trim down the numbers, kind of come down to what the list that you see in front of you. Later this week, I'll have a full deck tech breakdown, going through card selections and a little bit more in depth about my matchups. But Saturday was great. Played a Ruby Sapphire player, which was Ronald as well. Ended up beating him there. One of the overperformers in that matchup was One Drop Clarabelle, killed a dime in games 2. Which was just really good efficiency. Mufasa was an all-star. Clarabelle obviously drawing a ton of cards in a matchup where card advantage is key. Round 2, played a purple steel matchup. Went 2-1, and he was on brooms. And the muses basically just stole that game.
Yep.
He could never land a character. I was singing songs, just bouncing him back and forth. He just never could land anything, and I'm just progressing my game state. Round 3, I played Michael. Game 1, like we talked about, he just rolled me with Flynn Sisu combo. And any deck that can't interact with that early on is just going to lose. But then game 2 opened up into probably the best line that my deck can produce, which is turn 1, Popsicle or Clarabelle, turn 2, Tipo, turn 3, Muse, Sing 1, Jump Ahead. It just deals with a variety of decks in the format. There's just a lot of 2-power creatures that are on 1, 2, and 3, and it stabilizes the board, sets you up for next turn. Muse being ward just gives it such protection. Then from there, I was 3-0, got to ID the last 2 rounds.
Nice.
Felt a little nervous going into Sunday, playing Amber Steel against Freddie, who's a local guy who's very good, who's also a part of Team Illuminati. Yes, and he was on an aggro game plan, which I wish I would have tested a little more. I actually only tested 1 day on this deck going into this tournament, which was not very smart, but basically Muses carried that game. I was able to get it out early in all 3 games. The game I lost, I was forced to trade with it early, and I just couldn't get back my board presence. But the highlight of that match was in game 3 on turn 6. He played a Daisy, a Smee, and a Lawrence. I finished my turn with a Mufasa, a Muse, and 2 Tamatoas. And he goes, good game. Because he's like, I cannot deal with an 8-powered creature, I cannot deal with an 8-powered creature, and I can't deal with an 9-powered creature. So
9 toughness, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The deck just accelerated to infinity at that point.
Yep, because if they can't get rid of that Mufasa, then you're pretty much... If you ever get a chance to untap Mufasa, it's like, well, I have 28.
Well, that was the thing on that turn, too. I had the Mufasa down, I quested with it. Or I played Tamatoa, got back a Popsicle. My top deck on that Popsicle was another Tamatoa. And I go, it was good the first time, it might be good the second time.
Oh my gosh.
So ended up doing that, and it was just brutal. I had ways to clear his board, but it was just so much more fun to do that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And especially hearing him talk about it after, he was just like, I couldn't deal with it. I didn't know what to do. And it's a fun feeling when you have a deck that you built and someone talks about it like that.
Oh yeah.
And then my top 4 match, I ended up losing to the second place player in Eddie. Red-purple matchup, same thing. Lost one of the games to Sisu Flynn combo. Didn't find my Muse early. And then game 3, had an unfortunate set of draws between like turn 4 and 7. Just drew a couple Under the Seas, a couple uninkable cards, just nothing that could accelerate my game plan to kind of get around the curve. And then ended up playing a Mufasa late, and then he ended up drawing a Lady Tremaine and just sealed the deal from there.
That'll do.
Couldn't come back from that. Yeah, and uninsulated Mufasa is never good. So, yeah.
But still, no.
Overall, very happy with the deck.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like fantastic performance. I mean, this is you playing different colors for the first time in quite a while after playing Ruby Sapphire for a very long time. But again, what do you say? Is that 2, right? Yeah.
Since that 2,
yeah. So yeah, you've been on it for a while for sure. Looking at your deck list though, like the cards that definitely jump out to me is going to be that John Silver, like a card that we really haven't seen too much. So I want to hear a little bit about that because that's definitely a problem if you can't deal with it.
It was a card that was never on my radar, but it was a card that I remember the player at the case tournament playing, and I was like, this card is great. It's got 5 attack, 5 defense. Not very many things can kill it, and I get to play it on turn 4 a lot of the games. And against aggro, John Silver is insane. One of the only things that can deal with it as early as turn 4 is Zeus, which can happen. It's very frequent, but if I'm able to get a Muse out on curve on 3 and play John Silver to back it up, and they're wasting their turn playing for 4 the Zeus. Like, I'm so far ahead.
Oh yeah.
It's a lightning rod, but against Hiram, it is very good against that, giving Reckless there. Flynn Rider, giving Reckless to him, just being able to have him get tapped down to run into a Tipo, which then next turn is making him vulnerable.
Yep.
There's just a lot of things, and it's a forgotten card. One of the best one-liners I heard was, "I have no idea what's coming next in your deck." He's like, "I've never played against green blue. I have no idea what's coming."
Yeah.
Which is a fun feeling. Surprise factor is great.
No, definitely, yeah. Like, I mean, even like taking something like this to like a DLC where like it's like, okay, 2-game format, like you go first, and like someone's like, I have no clue what to do. Like, even like seeing like you see like a 1-drop Clarabelle, and you're like, okay, it's probably gonna be like, it's gonna be like GP, or it's gonna be like maybe like a weird like Emerald Steel list, and then you go like, all right, turn 2 T-Po, it's like, what?
Turn 4 Clarabelle, draw 7. Like,
yeah,
what?
exactly. Yeah, like something ridiculous like that. But again, though, fantastic performance. I look forward to seeing where this deck goes and see how see if you stick with it and see like where you can innovate a little more. And definitely, everyone else, be on the lookout for that video. That'll be on the channel towards the end of the week. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Last and certainly not least, we got Mike. Mike with the third of our 3 top 8s from TCG Con. And if you haven't figured yet, we've kind of gone in order. So if Brian was top 8 and Joey was top 4, Mike did find his way into top 2 where he was victorious. So congratulations, Mike, to you. I know it was your first major win. So definitely huge shout outs there. So why don't you talk to us about our day and quite possibly the best prize ever in the history of Lorcana.
Yeah, it was. I took Sapphire Amethyst, so BLURPLE for I lovingly call it. It's a fun deck. Changed it a lot since the last video. For those of you guys that have seen that in the past, no more Genie. I tried to tune it more for green steel, and I did play a couple of green steels, so I'm glad I did. And throughout the day, I used to think that some of the cards I teched for green steel were kind of dead into red blue, but I started finding some new lines that made those cards actually pretty efficient in those matchups. So for example, something like so basically what I took out, just to run through, is my 1-drops I changed from Magic Broom to Rafiki. I still have the Chernobog followers in there. And I added Pinocchio, so for early interaction to be able to kill Ursula 3. The double singer against green steel, because that is really how BLURPLE struggles in that matchup. If they are able to sing just one song with Ursula, it's normally really, really bad. And then Greystone Dragon was another addition to help against green steel, so that when you're discarding, those cards really aren't dead. You just use them as ink. But what I started doing with all of those cards now for other matchups, like against red blue, when we're playing against red blue and we're on the play, we're going first, the way you beat them is by making Flaversham only draw 2. And the way we do that is we both ramp, both see our ideal curve, 1-drop into Tipo, and then on 4 they're trying to play Flaversham to pop their popsicle, where we're trying to have either a fox or a goat set up with 4 attack, and then on 5, after they've played their Flaversham, we're swinging with Elsa, our 5-drop, and a 4 attack of either the goat or the fox that we played the previous turn.
Oh yeah.
And that's how you kind of neuter red blue. Turning Flaversham into friends on the other side is literally how you beat them. So with these cards that I added with Rafiki and Pinocchio, you're actually able to kill Flaversham on the draw. So you could, and it's not super ideal. It's kind of a niche scenario, I guess you could say, where you would play like Rafiki on 1, Rafiki Chernobog on 2, and now you haven't ramped, so you're a little behind. But in the circumstance that I did it, I had a Rabbit and Friends was my follow-up on turn 4. So I did, Rafiki 1, Churn Rafiki, turn 2, and then I played Pinocchio on their Flaversham, swung both Rafikis in, and the following turn I just drew out of it pretty much. So that's something that I learned on the fly, I guess you could say, because I played against a lot of red blue. That those cards are actually not dead. And then with Greystone Dragon, just to speak a little on that, in that matchup specifically, there were games I had 20 ink and I was inking red blue, and I never, after I get to 7, I'm never inking from hand anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it from my graveyard. So it's the abundance of cards is kind of how you're supposed to take on that matchup too. Just keep putting persistent threats, persistent attacking the lore, to where they can't take time to set up a dime, and that's the other way that we win the matchup. So yeah, the Greystone Dragon was an overperformer for me. As far as the matchups go, I played Green Steel round 1. I was a more aggro version. Guy was playing Bonsais, and I actually tapped down his Bonsais with Pinocchio and killed them with Rafiki and taking no damage. So that was pretty cute.
Tech.
That was
Round 2, I played another Green Steel. This was more traditional, like discard Green Steel. I had a Q play in that one too, to where I had 2 Mickeys out. They had played their second Diablo. They had 2 Diablos out, and I had killed one with panned Shadowfinder, and they played a Cove to protect the other one, and I wasn't able to kill it. But I actually, after they played the Cove, put Diablo in the Cove and passed back. I had 2 Mickeys out and the Shadowfinder still out. I played a Mim Dragon. Well, first I swung with Mickey into the Cove, quested with the other Mickey, played Mim Dragon, bounced both Mickeys back, and then rushed with my Mim Dragon into the Cove to finish it. And then Shadowfinder finished the other Diablo. So
nice.
Like plays like that were super fun. And then round 3 I played against Red Blue, and it was against Monty, who's a local down here. He's one of the Illuminati guys as well. It was a close set. Honestly, my only dropped games were against Red Blue, thinking about it.
Oh.
I
only
2-0'd
had 2 all
everybody
day.
else. Yeah, it was 2-0'd everybody else except 2 Red Blues. And Monty, even in Monty's game, I had a fun play. He was one of the ones where I had Stone Dragon just went off. But late game, he played a Tamatoa just to kind of reset, and I had a Chernobog on board. It was Chernobog and something else, but it didn't matter because I played Pinocchio to tap down Tamatoa, played Crab, bounced Crab with Mim 2, and Chernobog hit Tamatoa for 8, so that was pretty cool. You know, 1 for an 8 drop.
Pretty good trade.
Yeah,
That's value right there, baby.
I ID'd. It was for sure. And I ID'd with Joey round 4, and then round 5 we also ID'd with. It was pretty much locked at that point outside of Brian and even Eddie, I think, who was the other person that got in from playing at 3-1. Kind of rounded out the top 8. And then in top 8, I played against Red Blue. I had to play, even though I lost the first game, I had to win the next 2 to go through the next round. I played Ronald after I beat the first one, so I played Ronald, which is another Red Blue, and then in the finals I played against Eddie on Red Purple, and I 2-0'd that one. That was that's a good matchup for me, and I don't think he was as familiar with the matchup.
Yep.
But I did something fun in that one too, where he played 2 goats down at 18 lore, thinking that I had no outs. I did have a Mufasa out, so I drew like 6 cards because of what I had in hand. But I knew I had to keep at least 8 up for Elsa, so I big Elsa the 2 goats to tap them both down, put myself to 19, to where he had to have double bounce. No, if he had any bounce, he would have been out, but he didn't have a bounce because he'd have to bounce the goat and then play the goat down. But he played a rabbit because he didn't have any bounces. So once he played the rabbit, I knew I had it. So yeah, I was able to get the 2-0 there, and then I got that awesome prize. And then getting the mat, man, I mean, it was really cool. The head organizer, Eric, came up and gave me the mat, and he's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "This is like the most unique thing I've ever seen." And he's like, "All right, well, we got to go get more signatures." So we went over there, and we're talking about talking to the artist, and we're going through and like seeing who hadn't signed it yet. And one of the ones that I didn't have an Elsa on the mat yet, and I was like, I saw I'm sorry, I don't remember the artist's name, but I should probably know this. But I asked them, I was like, can you do an Elsa? Because it's one of the main cards in the deck, so if I could get an Elsa on there, it'd be awesome. And then the second, he was able to do it, and then the second person put the Hook on there, which is Peter Pan's one of my favorite Disney movies. So having Hook front and center was also really, really cool. So all in all, an amazing event. There definitely, I think, should have been more players there. I don't know why it was a little down compared to the year prior, because I mean that kind of prize is one of a kind.
Exactly.
I've
Yeah.
also got a case of cards, you know.
I want to
Maybe,
say something had to do with set champs.
yeah,
I
set champs
Yeah.
moved on to
probably.
that.
Yeah, partially set champs, and
Yeah, with the
partially also
set
like
champ
the yeah, that obviously set champs starting, even though Mirabelle sucks. But then like has to have to do too with like with just like the con, like to like you had to pay entry to the con and
Yeah.
then pay entry to the tournament. So like $70 is like a little bit steep for some people for just for like a tournament that.
Yeah.
So, but again, like the prize support was there, and again, huge shout outs. So the deck. I know you've been tweaking this deck since set 5 has been out. So like, do you feel like is this like the final form of the deck, like based on the meta that we're seeing now, or do you think that there's some innovation that you're still looking at?
I'm pretty happy with it right now.
Mhm.
I'll never think that I'm too much of a tinker to think it's 100% solved. But like, there's different spots that I would probably change, but when I look at the list, I'm like, I don't really want to take that out, because it's just I have so many tools, right?
Yep.
Everything has a use for it. The ones that don't are inkable. Like when they're really bad, they're inkable.
Mhm.
I feel like all of my uninkable cards are worth playing. I know Mufasa is probably the point of contention, but I have won so many games with the well-played Mufasa.
Yep.
I just think it's the most punishing card if you play it in the wrong time. So
Yeah,
it can feel really bad. And I know I've talked to you guys about this, but I kind of use it as a B prep on my own end.
Magnet, yeah.
If I'm behind on board sometimes, and I know my only way out is for them to wipe their own board, it's kind of a bluff to where they'll freak out, and then they're worried what else I have in hand when I may have nothing, and then they just B prep their board. And I'm not saying everybody does it, but people do it for sure, and I've gotten people on that. And obviously in BLURPLE there is no board wipes, so sometimes you got to get a little creative. But yeah, I am still a 100% Mufasa believer. As the meta changes, I think locations, I could probably change location count. Whether it's castles, McDuck Manors, or like, there's definitely a vision for that in the future.
I feel like you have just such a good toolbox. Like your 1s and 2s that you have in the deck just cover so much of the meta.
Oh yeah.
That depending wherever you are and whatever your meta scene is, you could swap out 1s and 2s here and there and make it different.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of red blue, you change the numbers and stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, between like the Bells and the Yzmas, like if you don't like those cards, there's other opposites. I know you were playing Cusco at one point in the Yzma spot. I know Bell has gone back and forth for you. But again, though, huge shout
Bell
outs.
was sick.
Bell was good this week.
Bell was sick for me. Yeah, Bell was sick for me this weekend. Like,
Bell's always good.
Yeah, with Elsa, especially when you get to 10 ink, some of the stuff you can do with tapping and playing Bell, because Elsa's a big enough body that's more relevant. Like, that was always the thing I didn't really understand. Like, why am I going to play Bell if nothing has more than 3 health on my... And anything that has more than 3 health, I'm going to be questing with. I don't want to swing it in. Where Elsa's the exception, right? Because you can tap something, swing her in with this big 5 health character, and then heal that character and deal another 3 or something, to another character, or the same character to finish it off. So, yeah, she was really good.
Yeah, I feel like BLURPLE becomes this like skill deck where the floor is pretty low. Like the interactions make sense. It seems pretty straightforward, but taking it to that next level and utilizing the sequencing that you're talking about is just like the sky's the limit.
I think a lot of purple decks are that way, but I agree.
Yeah, it's one of those decks that like you play 60 cards and every single card has an exact there's a reason for it. Like it's not like in some decks where it's like, all right, I need to play like my 4/1 drop, so it's like I'm gonna play 4 Robin Hood in Steel because I play the bigger Robin Hood, which is what you should do anyway. But like there's a reason, and there's a rhyme and a reason behind every single card that you have in this list. Like there's absolutely like you wouldn't. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, 1 Hades is like, you're not gonna find it. It's like you'll get there. Like there's a reason that it's only 1. It's like there's a reason there's the 1 Mim Dragon. Like you may not want 2 as great as it would be, but like the 1, it's exactly what you need. Or only like I know there have been reasons people were like, oh, you were in the older list you're only playing 3 rabbits, or you're only on 3 Mickey and 2 Donald, stuff like that. So like I'm sure there's again like from you've tested this deck a lot since the beginning of set 5. So like you have definitely like put in the work with it, and it shows too with all your results from SCG Con, and then at TCG Con as well. So again, huge congrats there. I look forward to seeing that mat in person. Like I can't wait to see it next time I'm down for sure.
Yeah. And it's all in credit to you guys too. Like, I mean, if I didn't get to bounce these ideas and tinker with things like that, with you guys and really test it, I would be just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. So being able to find those rhyme and reason for each of those cards, it's a team thing for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Funny enough, as soon as we got back from day 2, we sat down at the kitchen table and we're like, "You want to swap decks?" And we kind of ended up like just rotating through Ruby Sapphire, the BLURPLE deck, the
Green purple.
Yeah, green purple. Just everybody played something different, and and then from there, like, oh, why don't you cut this? Was it worth playing 2 of 3 of 4 of? And honestly, that's the benefit of having like a really good group of testers, and just again, most of all, just friends and stuff to really be able to speak to one another and be frank about certain things. Because like, there's been like a few times like, dude, you need to cut that. There's no reason for that to be in there, or whatever it is, right?
Michael.
Yeah. Michael's always like, guys, am I crazy? And then here it comes. You're gonna get hit with something real wild.
guys.
He's not here.
Yeah.
No. He'll be like, guys. Listen to me. It's like green, red locations. We're like, get out. Get off the team.
That's what makes the game fun, right? So
Exactly, and that really is what it ultimately is about, right? Like, I know we can get super caught up on, oh, here's my results, here's what I've done, blah blah blah. But if you're not having fun while you're doing it, then what's the point?
Exactly.
You got to enjoy the journey of improving as a player, improving the cards that you want to play. This game is for fun. The percentage of people that really make a living off of this card game is so minuscule. Just do it for the fun. Enjoy the awesome community that we have.
Oh yeah.
And like, I mean, this is part of the journey. We're in the early stages, the infant stages of a card game. I never thought I'd be able to be in the infant stages of a card game like this, so it's a really fun time.
Yeah, and definitely like being in early with this infant stages of this card game. But like, even for me, just like again, like I played card games a super long time, just with like Pokemon, and then like playing Hearthstone, and then even Magic for a little bit with all of us. Just seeing the growth of you guys, just like how we all test together, like how we attack deck building, how we attack matchups, and just like bouncing ideas off each other all the time. Like especially with Michael too, like it being his first card game, and just him being able just to perform as well as he has. Like he just started out as just like tagging along with you guys, and then like he was the one that was going to events by himself, like going to locals by himself, and just seeing his growth throughout the challenges. Like going to big events is difficult, especially for your first time, and just seeing how he struggled his first 2, but then he had that great showing in Vegas, where he got top 128. So again, like it's been super rewarding for me as someone who has been at a higher level in another card game, and then just to kind of be able to share that with all you guys. So it's been super fun for me. So just wrapping up, guys. If you take nothing else from this podcast other than some super cool deck lists, get a team, get some friends, and just enjoy the ride. Like I mean, the majority of people. The majority of people aren't going to make money off this game, like Mike was saying. Like, just go have fun, go to locals, win some card games, sling some cardboard, and then go get a beer afterwards. Super cool. So anyway, just closing us out. For everyone on the pod, Michael, hope to see you back next time. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your night or day, depending on when you are watching us. Good luck to everyone in set championships. We'd love to hear about how anyone does. Just hit us up in the comment section. You can hit up me or Mike on Twitter. We are more than happy to talk Lorcana with anyone. Not sure when our next pod will be, but we do have some cool stuff lined up that we can't quite talk about yet, but definitely be on the lookout for that. So like I said, for everyone in Freedom Gaming, hope you guys all have a great rest of your night. Peace.